Well, on day one of the Northwest Event Show, welcome to the final panel here on floor number 3. Who's still with us? There we go. I can kind of hear people. There we go. Well, you know what? My name's Jonathan West. I'm the entertainment director, MC at the Hall Group. So that's Queen Anne Beer Hall next to the Space Needle, Moss Bay Hall on the marina in Kirkland, across the water, and of course, the brand new one. It's been open about 10, 11 months now. It's the Hall on Occidental, right next to the northwest gate of Lumen Field. So we're all getting ready for FIFA, and since all of you are here, I want to give you a nice little gift. Since you came to the final session of the day on floor number 3, I'm going to give everybody the best pretzel in town. So how about that? I'm going to do that at the end, though, so I'm not going to give them out, and then you're going to leave and miss what Andrea is going to be pontificating about, talking about here. Andrea Dreesen, globally known, Seattle-based keynote speaker, who wrote the 3-time award-winning book, The Non-Obvious Guide to Event Planning. She's also the author of Message of Mattering, the Gracenotes method for cultivating meaning, connection, and impact. Her 2 TED Talks have been viewed over 2 million times. Today, Andrea will share a powerful and actionable way to feel more seen, heard, and human. Her idea grew from one living tribute that she shared with her father into a method, mindset, and global movement. Please welcome to the stage, Andrea Dreesen.
What a joy to be in the room with those who make human-to-human connections happen, something that's never been more important than it is today. Meeting planners, raise your hands. Now we have quite a few. AV pros and production crews in the back, raise your hands. Caterers, do we have any caterers? Photographers, videographers, we have an artificial one there. Hotel and CVB folks, hoteliers. Program and content marketing, DMCs, transportation, sustainable practices. I know we had a speaker on that topic. Design and decor, magicians, any of those? Registration ninjas, event experience experts. What about venue sourcing? Anyone? Event tech, speakers, entertainers, MCs? Ah, yes. Thank you. Each of you holds in your hands the logistical, emotional, and experiential architecture of entire events. You anticipate needs before they're spoken, and you build containers for celebration, entertainment, and transformation. Your work is meaningful, it's complex, and it's almost always invisible. Because just about everything you do literally happens behind the scenes, backstage, out of sight. Because and that invisibility can take its toll. In the broader workforce, about 30% of people say they feel invisible. But for y'all whose entire job is to help others shine, that invisibility can land even harder. You make those spotlight moments happen, but you rarely get to stand in the glow yourself. No wonder so many end up feeling exhausted, burned out, maybe sometimes like a ghost. Have you ever felt that way? Maybe it's why you're here. Well, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be this way. There's a viable alternative. I call it a grace note, a message of mattering. These simple notes are messages that we exchange to let someone know how they're impacting the workplace and the world. And when we know how we matter, we can bring more of our very best selves. Just ask Dan Yaman. He is the meeting engagement expert and the president of LiveSpark. And after Dan got a grace note, he said, oops. Pardon me. Grace notes can not just help us feel more seen and heard, but they help us go from feeling invisible to feeling invaluable. They can help us rediscover our why we got into this work. become more resilient, fulfilled, alive. We can lead with more purpose and ease, feel less anxious, and become better leaders who trust more deeply. Just ask Dan Yeaman. He's the president of Live Spark and a meeting engagement expert. After he got a grace note, he said, after an event, all that usually remains are distant memories, maybe a few photos if I had a chance to take them. My grace note gives me something more, a tangible reminder of my why and my contributions. I can hold it, I can read it, I can be taken back to the event and how it mattered and how I matter. I keep it on my desk to be reminded of my impact. To be clear, a grace note is not a thank you note. A thank you note might say, thank you for producing a great conference. A grace note might say, you bring calm to chaos. When you're present, there's more possibility and positivity. You have a sixth sense for how to raise the vibe. Wouldn't you keep something like that on your desk? Grace notes just ask for a little bit of your attention, a slight shift in your intention, and a willingness to notice what's distinct and true about other people. One acknowledges a task, the thank you card. The other honors and celebrates and elevates the human behind the task. You also can call a grace note a eulogy for the living, one that's delivered while we're still able to see and savor the words. Have you ever solved a problem at an event that no one ever even knew happened in the first place? Then you know it can feel really unsettling to go so unseen. And yet when we share grace notes, we can create an upward spiral of mattering. And we can go from feeling anxious to feeling anchored. We're going to talk about some how-tos in just a bit, but first I want to acknowledge what I think some of you might be thinking out there. I see you. That this mattering and feeling seen stuff sounds pretty fluffy, like something you'd hear about from a fringy social media influencer. Well, it's not. It's validated research. I call it collectively the math of mattering and the science of being seen. Let's take a brief look at a couple of data points. The first is from the Journal of Positive Psychology. They find that in the workforce, when people are seen and heard, when they know that they matter, they're more likely to be satisfied with their jobs, they're more likely to get promoted, hold leadership positions, and they're less likely to quit. From the Annals of Physiology, when we're seen and heard by important people in our lives, we physiologically can feel calmer and safer. But when we're ignored or dismissed, it can trigger depression and distress. In her work, in her book, The How of Happiness, Sonia Lubomirsky talks about how those who give something are as fulfilled by that giving as the receivers are fulfilled. And that is why a grace note is not just something that we give as an altruistic gesture, but it's something that fulfills us and helps us feel more alive. Grace notes are also not just relevant for those of us here in the events industry. They're relevant and impactful and powerful for any industry, any role, any organization, as long as humans are involved. Their impacts are empirically tied to increases in retention, engagement, performance, trust. We're all lacking trust these days, mental and emotional well-being. And these grace notes aren't just nice to have sentiments. They are strategic. Oops. Something just went wrong. There we go. Mattering can be like a magnet for your organization because when we know we matter, we can use grace notes as a way to take this kind of ephemeral idea of belonging and make it concrete through our everyday gestures and words that say, I see you, I hear you, and you matter here. For sales teams, grace notes are an important tool because I think I'm missing a slide, so excuse me. In any case, Gracenotes are really a valuable tool for sales teams because they help us to build that relationship. They're a way to use our actual intelligence and our authenticity to augment artificial intelligence. And they're a way to see and hear and honor our clients during long, nonlinear buying journeys. So if you're in a sales role, I encourage you to explore Gracenotes as a tool to build that relationship. This human need to matter, by the way, is not just a function of our current era of distraction, distrust, and discord that we find ourselves in. This need to matter is as fundamental as it has always been since we roamed the earth as the first humans. It's critical to our survival. But as I think about this time of distraction and distrust and discord, I'm reminded of another time in our nation's history in the 60s when we went through the beginnings and the actual Vietnam War. And at that time in 1965, there was a teacher who was trying to get her students, her rowdy students, to see something positive in one another. Now, no matter when you were in middle school, what word or two might come to mind as you think back to that time of your life? Just shout it out. What word might you use to describe your experience with junior high? Complicated. Messy. Awkward, for sure. Smelly, cliquey. It's almost as if middle school is defined by our feeling unsure of how others saw us, or maybe being seen for less than positive reasons, yeah? So this teacher, this wise, creative, and I think a little desperate teacher, had every student write down one kind word about each of their fellow students on a piece of paper. She collected these and then she shared them back out, so everyone got a list of their kind words. Pretty cool. Ultimately, one of these students went to war in Vietnam. His name was Mark. And ultimately, he died there. Mark's teacher ended up attending the service, and when Mark's brother saw that she was there, he pulled her aside. He wanted to show her something that they'd found in Mark's wallet. It was a folded and refolded, taped and retaped piece of paper. Yeah, the very one he'd received those many years earlier in middle school. Think about how this young man learned from his junior high peers how he showed up, how he was kind, how he mattered, and he kept the evidence on his body until he died. Tragically, Mark died. He passed before he had the chance to fully live into the kindnesses that others saw in him. But what can happen when we know how we matter while we're still here? To repeat, we can become better leaders. We can become more effective performers. We can be more trusting, and we can feel healthier physically and mentally. Now, we've talked a little bit about big data. I've shared a couple of stories, and I've also shared the story about Mark. But what about your data, and what about your story? Let's explore that now. I invite you to grab a piece of paper of your own if you have some with you, or just give a think to these questions. Who helped you feel seen? What did they say? What did they do? How did it change you? Just give that a little think here for a moment. Maybe it was a teacher who was there for you, believed in you before you believed in yourself. Maybe it was a friend or a family member who was there with you before a big moment. Now I invite you to spend just a couple minutes in conversation with someone at your table, talking about who you were thinking about, who helped you feel seen. Again, just for 1 minute apiece, and I'll ring a bell at the 2-minute mark and call you back. Have a little chat about these questions. We'll come back now as a group here. Who'd like to share briefly the name of the person you talked about in your pairs and their roles? So for example, my cousin Vinny, or my piano teacher Jacqueline. Just a quick share. Feel free to grab a mic if we have a mic runner, or just shout it out since we're a smaller group. Just quickly, the name and the role of the person that you shared in your pairs.
Well, it just so happens that the person I was thinking of decided to show up. It was a magical moment.
Beautiful.
A year ago, I was trying for a new start after doing a writing business, and I came across the National Speakers Association Northwest.
Great.
I saw them do this stuff, and then a year later, I've given my own talks.
And what's her name? Her name is?
That's Rebecca Murray, right
there. There you go.
P. Murray, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Who else wants to share the name and a bit about the role they played for you?
Yeah, mine is Mr. Connor, high school drama teacher. I grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Oh, by the way, I'm Shanna Wallace, and I was an earlier speaker in this room this morning. And so Mr. Connor, when I was going into 10th grade, I went up to his table at registration, and he said, "I know you. I'm really hoping that you will join the drama club." And I thought, how does he know me? And he said, "I saw you 2 years ago when you were in 8th grade in Sleeping Beauty and you had the lead role. And I'll never forget how you threw yourself over the balcony banister and I really thought you had collapsed."
That's drama.
Yep, and he cast me in the very first show of the year called The Golden Goose. I had the title role. And from there, he really helped me to feel special. He encouraged my love of speech activities. And I have been able to cascade that to other young speakers. I've coached for 10 years middle school and high school speech students.
Beautiful.
So
Thank you.
I feel really grateful. It changed me completely.
What a difference one person can make. It's true, it can take just one person. Did you notice a pattern here in what you all just shared? Or maybe another way to look at it, what you didn't share, what the two of you didn't share? No one said something like, Taylor Swift, Sam Darnold, the Seahawks quarterback. You mentioned everyday people that we have in our lives, not fancy people. It can take just one person to change the course of our day, our career, or our entire life, as your instructor did. Let me tell you a little bit about my one person, without whom there would be no global Gracenotes movement. This guy is my dad, Leo Dreesen, and my dad was one of those easy to be around folks. He was kind, he was funny, and he was sincerely interested in other people. And he was very much a builder, a literal and figurative builder. He never left our small Wisconsin town except to go serve in the war. And he built gun emplacements in World War II. He built a 58-year marriage to our mom, Fran, and a stable home for 5 kids. He helped build an industrial park and a chamber of commerce. And when my dad was 90, he was featured in a hometown newspaper story that described his contributions to our community. He sent a copy of that to my siblings and me, and he included a short handwritten note that said, "Well, it's better than having your eulogy read over your casket." That stopped me in my tracks, man. I couldn't get it out of my head. I thought, why are eulogies only for dead people? Why do we wait so long to let others know how they matter to us? So I decided to write my dad what I called at the time a living tribute. I'd now call it a grace note. And I reflected back to him all the things I'd seen him build over the years. When he got it, he was moved, as you'd expect, but not because I'm a fancy poet, but because he felt deeply seen for his very best self. He got to have a glimpse into his legacy while he was still here. He ended up living another 7 years after that. He had 7 more years to live more deeply into his legacy. And I got a chance to experience deep contentment and calm and a lack of regret, even after he died, because I'd said what I wanted to say before it was too late. You know, sometimes a great way to better understand something is to explore its opposite. So for a moment, we're going to explore the flip side of mattering. I invite you to grab another piece of paper and a pen. This exercise is just for you. This is a solo exercise. I'd like you to think about 3 actions or qualities that you wish others would notice, appreciate, see about you. By people, I mean colleagues, family, friends, maybe someone sitting right next to you right now. Let yourself really feel what it's like to go unnoticed, underappreciated, unseen. Where do you feel it in your body? Let yourself go there. You're getting a kinesthetic sense of what psychologist Gordon Flett calls antimattering. Not to be confused with antimatter that could destroy the universe. This is different. And wow, what a contrast to the stories of mattering that you talked about in your pairs, right? Quite a contrast. Well, I, for one, am anti-mattering because I know it doesn't have to be this way. Because Gracenotes are a straightforward and actionable way that we counter anti-mattering. And writing them does not have to take a lot of time. And now I want to share with you ways to do that, even when you're beyond busy, because I know none of us is looking for yet another thing to do, something else to add to our calendar. To be clear, Gracenotes don't require a budget, a platform, a new job, a sabbatical, or a bunch of time that you don't have. But I will give you some tips for writing them more easily. And it's why I developed the C method. It's really easy to remember. The S stands for spot. In that first step, we're noticing how someone shows up with their highest self. Then we move into the express stage, in which we're conveying what we see with clear, specific words. Finally, when you're elevating, you're connecting your words to something bigger. Now, I realize this could still sound a little vague, so I'm going to make it more real. First, when we're spotting, again, how does someone show up with their best, highest self? This is where you bring attention and intention. It's a little different. It's much different from just a compliment. Instead of just saying, "You're amazing, that was awesome," like we usually do, a grace note might have you noticing, "Hey, wait a minute, how is she showing up with her highest self? What does she actually do for the people around her?" That's the difference. When we're expressing, you're finding the words that describe their special sauce, their quality, the pattern that you're noticing. What's so special about your Gracie? Finally, when you're elevating, this is where it becomes much more than a compliment. A grace note's not just off-the-cuff flattery. You're tying their impact to their way of being, to something bigger. Oftentimes it's about telling them a story they don't even believe yet about themselves, or they don't even know is going on. We're our own worst critics. We got that imposter thing going on, but a grace note can reflect back our goodness in a way that nothing else can. And the more we hear it, the more we believe that news story. Let's make this real. You got a colleague named Jay. Jay's a rock star. You might say, "Jay, you're amazing. Jay, you're great. You're awesome." That's fabulous. But here's what it sounds like in a grace note. "Jay, you have a way of pausing after high-speed parts of our day and asking people how they're actually doing. Your interaction helps us all feel more connected, even after a tough meeting. Your care changes the emotional climate of our team. You're elevating it. It's not just his behavior, but how it affects the global organization. We end up feeling less alone, more grounded. This is how you lead. It's part of your legacy here. See the difference between that and you're great or you're awesome? If you were Jay, wouldn't you like to keep that on your desk? I can't tell you how many times I've sent a grace note to someone, and they say almost verbatim every single time, Andrea, I got your grace note. I keep it on my desk. I look at it to be reminded of my awesomeness, my goodness, my contribution, my impact. Remember Dan? I look at it to be reminded of my impact. People are starving for this, folks. 1 or 2, 5, 10 words can make all the difference to change a day, a career, or an entire life. And it doesn't have to take much time. Now, we're going to do a final exercise here, but before we do that, I'd like you to think about someone you'd like to write a grace note to, someone whose special light you want to highlight. Okay? Actually, before we get into that, I do want to share a couple of other high-level takeaways that I think will inform not only how you do the C method, but how you write grace notes in general. First of all, if you take away nothing else, know that a grace note can never be written wrong. It's impossible. You can't write a grace note to the wrong person at the wrong time for the wrong reason. Take that off your plate of worries. Second, one of the reasons a grace note is so powerful is that it's tangible. We have plenty of digital communication. We don't need any more of that. But the beauty and the power of a grace note lies in its tangibility. And when you're sitting down to write a grace note, think of it as an anchor that someone holds onto. Imagine you're out in Puget Sound and there's a storm and you see a mooring buoy. You're going to grab a hold of that. Your grace note is like an anchor for someone who feels uncertain, who feels psychologically unsafe. It's a way for them to feel more secure in a very turbulent time. So keep this image in mind when you're thinking about defaulting to an email or a text. By the way, when it comes to Jay's grace note here, this is not a zero-sum game. What if you took something like this and sent it to him as a LinkedIn recommendation as well? So, number 1, you can't do it wrong. Number 2, these are tangible objects that turn into anchors in uncertainty. And 3, you know, we get these big brains as humans. They're fabulous. They do us a lot of good. But you know what? When it comes to writing a grace note, doing something that comes more from the head and less from the heart, our big brains can cause us to overthink what to write and underestimate the impact that one simple note can have on someone. So as you're thinking about writing that grace note and you find yourself ruminating and overthinking, do your very best to put that big brain of yours on the back burner and know that, remember, you can't do it wrong. In fact, one way to stop yourself from overthinking is to set a timer. So we're going to set a timer right now. We're going to do a timed exercise. And now I'd like you to think about someone who you'd like to write a grace note to. Someone whose special light you want to highlight. Think about it, but don't overthink about it. Just pick somebody. Okay? And I'm going to give you another set of tools that will save you time and effort. I wrote these writing prompts. These are 5 of 25 that you'll find in my book. Any one of these prompts will serve as a framework, a blueprint, so you never have to face a blank page. The idea here isn't to just try to fit all these prompts into one grace note, just to be clear. Just pick one that you think might best be a starting point for the person you have in mind. Or write your own prompt, or go without a prompt, right? Just let it out on the page. Or combine this with the C method. It doesn't matter. You can't do it wrong. Okay? Any quick questions before we spend just 2 minutes writing a grace note to someone? Okay. On your tables are some message of mattering cards. These are vibrant cards. They're blank on one side. They're there for you. There's one for everyone. And feel free to grab one and use it for your grace note. Makes it a real keepsake, an artifact, something that people can anchor onto. Okay, so 2 minutes, and go ahead and write that grace note. I'll leave these prompts up on the screen. Okay, you want to start wrapping up your note. You can always come back to it, but it never has to be perfect. Kindness doesn't demand perfection. So congratulations, you just wrote your first grace note. Feels good, doesn't it? Yeah. So I have a few final remarks, but before we get there, are there general questions that anyone has about grace notes as a practice? Yes, please.
So I don't know, I was just went to look through your book. Where do I find it?
Yes, I'm about to show you a slide. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it just dropped yesterday. Annika, did you have you're just, yay, thank you. Any other just questions about using grace notes in the workplace?
Well, I do have another question.
Please.
I love the idea, but
Yes, feel free to use the mic.
I love the idea, and I'm wondering if you even sell the note cards.
I do.
Because this just makes
She is
it
not
so
my
much,
agent, by the way.
It just makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes people will ask me, well, I don't know what to say to someone. Maybe it's an aging parent, or it's someone from a high school I have been meaning to reach out to, but I haven't, and it's awkward. I feel really awkward. That's the most common reason I hear for people not writing a grace note. I'm afraid that they're going to think it's weird. I'm reaching out after all this time. And to me, the most practical response and the most practical step to take in that situation is to go take yourself on an artist date to a card store and find a card that expresses the personality of the person you're thinking about, and lead in with something as simple as, I saw this card and it was so beautiful, and it asked for an equally beautiful message, and I'm in touch because I'm just remembering how that time when we did yada yada. And that can be your lead-in. It can be as simple as that. And these cards are a way to fill that void.
Would you be open to my extending that?
How do you mean?
So I don't know if you have anything like this in your book, but something I used to do with my team that really resonated was I didn't send the note to the team member, I sent it to their family member.
Oh my God, how
So
beautiful.
to the daughter, why I appreciate your mother so much, and how she contributes to our team, and I know her time with us takes her away from you, and I want you to know you should be so proud of her. Or your husband, or your wife.
Yeah.
And I found that nobody knew I was going to do it, and then all of a sudden something showed up for me for one of their family members, and that probably went even further than going to them directly.
That is absolutely beautiful. And in that vein, I don't have anything quite like that in my book, but in the customer service context, imagine maybe has anybody been a customer service representative? Yeah. You're on the front lines of often crap all day. Like, you're solving problems, you have angry people, and every now and then someone comes through and is just a kind person to you, and you're kind back to them, and it's this beautiful experience. And I'm a firm believer in the same vein of what you just shared, that when we get a great experience with a customer service representative, especially these days when you actually can talk to a human, to go ahead and send them something, a message of mattering, a grace note, that not only they get, but you CC their manager. And in that case, it might be digital because you don't have their mailing address, but it can have an enormous impact on them, and it can be also something that goes up on LinkedIn. But to call their parents or to contact their parents, man, that is above and beyond. That's beautiful. And where I see this in the workplace is around this idea of psychological safety. For those of you who were in the session, I think it was a couple hours ago, the value and the critical foundational importance of psychological safety in the workplace for people to feel they want to stay in an organization and perform their best work. Grace notes are a key to giving us that sense of feeling okay and trusting our colleagues, because we're seeing one another so deeply beyond platitudes and gratitudes. Any other final input or questions that you'd want to share before I close with a couple more remarks? So to be clear, when we give a grace note to someone, we're not just helping them feel more seen and heard and valued and visible. Although now you understand that is enormously powerful and it's all backed up by science. You're also helping yourself feel more fulfilled, connected, and purposeful. Something that when we're in this day and age of disconnection and discord, when we can feel a lifeline of fulfillment and meaning, it can make a big difference. I think of it as a grace note can transform the mean we're feeling around us into the meaning we're craving within us. And they can help us rediscover our professional why you chose to get into this compelling industry in the first place, which is not without its challenges. Your people are waiting for those moments when they know they matter. What are you waiting for? Thank you.
Moments that matter and gratitude towards everyone that builds what it is that we do in this events industry. Give it up one more time for Andrea Dreesen. Well, thank you. This is the close of floor number 3 on day 1. Hopefully be able to see every single one of you for day number 2 and the big expo upstairs. If you're out to the Salish Sea event, I'll mosey my way out there as well. Just wanted to add just one quick thing. As an MC, as an event host, you're going to see me do it as I'm handing out these best pretzels in town to you. Every time I host an event, and I got this partially from going to church and partially from kind of seeing others do it over the years. I call it the pastor's approach. So whenever you host an event, and it's over, you post up right next to the exit doors and you thank everyone for coming out and you say thank you so very much, see you next time, and how that has galvanized people with the hall group, especially when we do watch parties, Super Bowl events. It's awesome. It's really great. So I thought I would share one of my tricks and tips with events, because it's awesome to have events like this, conferences like this, where we might all be competing against each other, but maybe for a couple of days we get to take down those walls a bit. So thank you so very much. Again, my name is Jonathan West with the Hall Group. I'd like to thank the Northwest Event Show. Please give it up for our AV staff in the back. And the one final thing is that we have Dex back from Event Wraps. He's going to come on stage and give you a nice little performance of what just happened up here on stage. Oh yeah, it's the rave of day 1 of the Northwest Event Show. So y'all give it up for Dex from Event Wrap.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Good, awesome. All right, Andrea, that was great. It's amazing, thank you. My name is Dex. I am from Event Wrap, like my guy J-Dub just said. And what we do is we create custom songs for events, as well as something that we like to call wrap-ups, where we sit in the back of the room, and as the panels and discussions are going on, we're writing rap songs. So what was going on today is I was in the back writing a song about everything that Andrea just spoke about, and it is the first time this song is ever going to be heard. It's the first time that it's ever been created. It didn't exist 45 minutes ago. And this is special because this collection of people will never be in the same room again, and the song will probably never be done by me again. So sans rehearsal, sans practice, here we are. It's a personal grace note to Andrea right now, right? So DJ Kyle. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, Yo, don't let it go to waste. Reclaim your purpose. Grace Notes helps all the shadow work get noticed. Rediscover the way and feel invincible. And go from feeling invisible to indispensable. Don't let it go to waste. Reclaim your purpose. Grace Notes helps all the shadow work get noticed. Rediscover the why and feel invincible. Go from feeling invisible to indispensable. Let purpose be your passion and your profession. Shout out to you making human to human connections. Grace Notes are tangible reminders of the why, the impact that you had that can make you feel alive. No one solves more problems than event planners. Great Notes take you from feeling anxious to feeling anchored. This is backed by data implemented on teams. The math is being mattering, the science of being seen. Foster strong relations purposely. Support for clients on their journey. Yes, you see, boost trust and authenticity amid all of these times of uncertainty. A grace note is more than a thank you. No, it's also an affirmation, yes, go, of the impact you had, and you know it's elation, because it also serves as confirmation. It's an inspiration you share as a gesture. Sometimes your inspiration shows up magically like Rebecca. This is backed by science and social proof, like Mr. Comer did for Shannon in the Golden Goose. Send a grace note, be the why and the reason. Why wait for death for a eulogy? Worth of Leo Dreesen. Yes, you do it while it's alive, because grace notes can help all your really survive. Grace notes are not something extra for you to add to your plate. You've got to just see, spot, express, and elevate. Yeah, not something to add to your plate. You just got to see, spot, express, and elevate. Grace notes detail the great things that might get lost in oversight. But you can change someone's life, impact the person and all of their moods, and you can make them go from feeling something cool. Yeah, do it from the heart, not the head in retrospect. There's no way to break correct. Hey, do it from the heart, not the head in retrospect. There's no wrong way to write a grace note incorrect. Write from feeling, though it might feel tough. Picture the note as an anchor when they're feeling rough. Yeah, don't know where to start, what direction to look? Use a prompt from the Message of Mattering book. Help people feel seen, like they matter emphatically. Send one directly or to their family, just like Shannon did. And that's part of it. Yes. Because grace notes is what gratitude most resembles. Before we go, don't forget to get one of them pretzels. Don't let it go to waste. Reclaim your purpose. Grace notes helps all your shadow work get noticed. Make some noise for yourselves. Thank you very much.
And make some noise for Dex from Event Wrap.
Make some noise for the pretzels that we're all about to get.
Thank you all so very much.